Brighten up those dark mornings. Wheeler, Ollie, and Lekter. Mornings at the Cabin.
Good morning. Welcome to Mornings at the Cabin. What a lovely way to start your morning post-long weekend. I hope you all had a wonderful day of eating too much. Ollie, how was your weekend?
It was beautiful. It was extraordinarily relaxing. I did very little. I ate no turkey, but I don't mind.
How dare you?
I know.
It is a little tough to say. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like we don't really want to celebrate Thanksgiving, like kind of what it represents. But it is a time to get together with family and friends and eat too much food, which I think we can all appreciate.
I did a lot of cleaning yesterday. It was
cleaning.
Great. Yeah. I spent the whole day at home. I cleaned the house top to bottom. I've spent like 10 months ignoring various issues, like all these clothes that need taking out and just getting rid of, and like old stuff and everything. I bought a vacuum. I vacuumed. I did top to bottom the whole house. I hung up a bunch of paintings, which I've been meaning to do for months.
Very nice.
I honestly, as a mental health day,
yes,
I did very little socializing. I had like an anti Thanksgiving.
Very good.
And it was just the best.
Absolutely. That's something we all need every once in a while, just a time to ourselves. I had a bit of that this weekend as well. It was Saturday. Well, Saturday kind of turned all cockeyed. I was supposed to go to Nicole and Scott's for their wonderful Thanksgiving called Turkey Pants. And
but the whole rule is you never go to that.
No, I went last year. And I had planned to go this year, and I was going to make a whiskey pumpkin pie, which I bought the Fireball for, and I had all the fixings, all the trimmings, and I took the dog out at around 2:30 in the afternoon, and she decided to run away. And she was gone for about 3 hours.
Very ungrateful considering the weekend.
Quite. And I was a little freaked out because we were down in the ski club area, and she took off in and around there, which is where the coyotes love to den. So it was a little creepy. So she came home eventually, but after that, I was exhausted, and I was just like, I'm not going anywhere.
I told Scott putting 2 minutes on that music intro was very ambitious.
Very ambitious.
I told Scott, I said, look, if you think we're ever going to complete the opening break of the show in 2 minutes.
Every once in a while.
All right.
Every once in a while.
Carry on.
But anyway, it was she stayed on my lap for a full hour after she got home because she was a little, she was probably mad at me. She's like, where'd you go? I was just out having fun and you just disappeared. She's an idiot, but she's a lovable idiot. So anyway, I had a pretty good weekend. Yeah. And yours was fine.
Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. No, like I say, I feel like I got a lot done. My house looks a little bit more like a home, which is, what more can you ask for out of that?
We did have a nice get together on Friday.
Yeah. Speaking of houses, let's not get into that.
Nope. Let's not get into that.
Never speak of that again.
Why?
I've heard enough.
Why?
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
You were a one-issue candidate on Friday night.
I was in rare form on Friday night. I don't know. I had a very visceral reaction to that house, and I know a lot of people really love that house, and I just at that moment was like, no, this house kind of represents some stuff that isn't great about this city.
I'm not sure that we have enough time in the morning show for your house chat.
And people are probably really curious. Maybe we won't even talk about it.
We'll get into it.
No, we won't. We're fine. Lindsay Buckingham.
After the 5 hours of it you subjected me to?
5 hours. You were there for about 45 minutes while I was there.
Mornings at the Cabin, the podcast.
Hey, you're going to be a star, maybe.
No, I'm not.
This is exciting.
Did you have a good
Never mind, it's Thanksgiving. It was fun.
Yeah, Thanksgiving was great.
Great.
How about you being a star?
Not at all. Not at all. But there are auditions for this. What is it? I mean, I've got a very, very small example of what this is. So we've got what some people put out there the other day was a call to audition for what is being called an unexpected journey in Yellowknife.
Yeah, it's the Christmas special for Hong Kong's biggest free-to-air broadcaster. So the Hong Kong equivalent of CBC.
Oh, okay, very good.
Which is called TVB, I think, or something like
that.
It's they've got 5 channels in Hong Kong.
Oh.
And they have decided that their TV Christmas special this year will be held in Yellowknife. And it's a comedy drama about people who win tickets to go to Yellowknife. And then I don't really know what befalls them, but you're about to find out.
Well, maybe.
Because you're going for an audition today.
I'm going to go for an audition at 3 o'clock.
Like, they put out the casting call, phone Rochelle to get an audition. The number's on our website. But they phoned you.
They didn't phone me. I asked Rochelle about it, and she told me about it.
That's very exciting. So you got an audition at 3?
At 3 o'clock at WOMP. It just says this. TBL Limited or TB Limited is looking to cast one person, 40s and up, appearance creepy looking, white beard, Caucasian male, possibly bigger in stature. I can't go for that one because I can't grow a beard. Two people aged 20s to 40s. These are the ones I'm going for. Apparently, appearance menacing, threatening, but also goofy and funny.
Well, that's
non-Asian preferred.
It's in the bag.
I'm happy.
You've got all the boxes checked, though.
Well, yeah, fair enough. Although, there were times when I was younger that I was mistaken for a person of Asian descent or Hawaiian.
Oh, well,
That's
that's
right.
going to work against you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, here.
Because I remember one time when I was dating someone at the time, this was like 15 years ago, and her little cousins were like, when you do have babies, are they going to be Asian or white? And everyone was like, what do you mean?
What?
And it's like, well, because Jesse's half Japanese. What? So
Did anyone ever take the time?
Oh, you're not?
No,
I just
he
thought
kind
you
of
were.
assumed. Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm not.
I would have probably followed up with the cousins on that one and been like, interesting.
No, I broke up with her.
Where's that
That
going?
was the end of that.
that was the last straw. So yeah. Anyway, they're going to be filming here from to the 20th to the 29th of November.
Yep.
I can't wait to see this. Whether I do it or not, I can't wait to see this because there's going to be a bunch of I imagine some principal shooting here in Yellowknife.
Yeah.
But I also imagine that a ton of it will take place in China, and you're going to see Yellowknife, and it's going to be like China. It's going to be a place in China, and that's great. It's like the time that they did a movie about the giant mine explosion. CBC did a movie called Giant Mine, and it was filmed in Calgary, and no attempts were made to make it look like Yellowknife whatsoever. There's actually a scene where the fire trucks are speeding towards the mine, and they're coming down Shaganappi Trail right by the Foothills Hospital. It's ridiculous.
City of Calgary Fire Service.
Pretty
written
much. I
proudly
mean,
on the
it
side.
might as well have said that. So I'm looking forward to seeing Yellowknife in all its Chinese glory.
So basically, what we're saying is that you are about to have 20% of the Hong Kong
I hope so.
TV audience.
Well, I mean, I hope they like. I imagine they're going to send us to China. I mean,
Sure. The last one, the last Christmas special got about 5 million views, so it's a pretty solid deal. There was a lot of interest in the Yellowknife sort of lead role, if you like, lead Yellowknifer of creepy-looking white guy. A lot of interest on our Facebook page in that.
I'm sure.
a lot of candidates.
Pablo Saravanja, I feel like, could just put some talcum in his beard.
Spray
and
it
go
white.
for it.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people self-identifying for that, which I admired. Walt Humphreys was straight on our Facebook page saying,
Walt,
"Yep,
I mean, yeah.
sign me up."
Sign me up. I am 40s and creepy looking.
There were a lot of people who would actually sounded genuinely thrilled that this was the description.
Absolutely.
Because I think they decided that there are certain people out there who felt like they would never get a casting call because they were a creepy looking old white guy.
Well, it's about time they got a win.
Yeah,
isn't
and
it?
suddenly there was like suddenly it was for once actually worth being a creepy looking old white guy.
It's finally
Like,
paid
wow,
off.
amazing.
Come on, Ollie. It's always been worth it being a creepy older white man.
It seems to pay off on a regular basis. This is true.
One's president, one's put it to the Supreme Court. There we go. It's a good time. It's a good time for creepy white dudes. But so at 3:00 I'll go down there, and I'm supposed to just throw together. What did she say? She throw together like 15 to 30 seconds where you present yourself in a menacing but goofy way.
Has she listened to the morning show?
Right? I think that's all we need to do. Just come in here, mornings at the cabin.
Just give her your NPR bit.
Yeah.
You'll be good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, everyone. I'm here to smell you. That's not goofy
the part.
That'll do it.
Cabin Radio's Morning Show Podcast. All the best chat, none of the embarrassing mistakes.
Mornings at the Cabin. Wheeler, Ollie, Lekter with you. The biggest fight in UFC history took place over the weekend. Yeah. I mean, I feel like they say that like once a year.
Yeah.
The biggest fight in UFC history. They said that about
they've said that about so many fights
as well. And then she got her butt kicked in 45 seconds or so. But this one obviously Conor McGregor and what's his name? Khabib,
I don't remember how to pronounce the last name.
Brilliant. Loving this so far.
Well, I mean, what he's supposed to do.
Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, there it is. So, I mean, obviously more famous now for what happened after the fight when Khabib leaped the fence, jumping into Conor's camp, heel kicked a guy off
Flying
of the
drop
fence.
Kick. Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. It was crazy, and everybody's
see
like,
that?
"Oh my god,
absolutely.
What a shame for the UFC." It's like this is exactly what the UFC has wanted this entire time.
Well, I had some conversations.
Yes.
With
well, you weren't going to watch it.
No, I wasn't planning on watching it. And then there was an overwhelming urge to watch.
By urge, do you mean a city councilor telling you that?
That's exactly what I mean. Yes.
Corruption story at City Hall. City councilor makes citizen buy pay-per-view.
What?
Oh yeah, that's the newest headline.
That's the newest headline. Yeah.
What? I missed this.
Councilor Julian Morse forcing Scott Lekterman.
Yeah.
So Julian, I should watch it.
Hands tied behind my back.
Hands tied behind my back.
Carry on.
No say in the matter. No, Julian.
In exchange for a vote. No, I'm joking.
He apparently had been studying the fight leading up. Was very excited for the biggest fight in UFC history.
Waste of time.
And so yeah, it was kind of the end of the night. Like, yeah, why not? We'll buy the fight, put it on.
Yeah.
And like, I used to be pretty into the UFC. I used to follow it pretty closely. In the last couple of years, kind of dropped off the map. But
what do you mean?
I haven't followed it lately. Yeah,
but why?
I don't know. You'd think, starting a sports show, this would be the time to start following it again.
No,
but hey,
because UFC and WWE are becoming one and the same thing at this point.
Yeah. I mean, that's nothing new.
No.
Like, UFC has been kind of dipping into the pro wrestling book of how to sell a fight for, well, a while now.
Yeah.
Many, many years. But I feel like it reached a breaking point on Saturday where all you needed was someone hitting someone else with a chair.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much, okay, well, this is WWE
I'm
now.
sure someone got hit by a chair in that melee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, Khabib beat Conor McGregor.
Tapped him.
Huge. Wow. Yeah. Everyone seemed to think that was the way it was going to happen. Tapped him out. Retained the UFC lightweight belt,
sure.
I think. Then decided he was going to start screaming at Conor McGregor's corner. Leaped the cage. Jumped into the crowd. Big brawl ensued. People jumped into the cage.
Big brawl there.
Chaos. And we were all kind of wondering, is someone going to get seriously hurt here? Is this kind of like...
Well, Conor got clocked by one of the...
He seemed no worse for wear, but he did get randomly sucker punched by someone who jumped in the ring. So that obviously wasn't good. And you say, you're right in one way when you say, yeah, the UFC, I think, sees that and they're like, wow, this is going to sell the rematch.
Yeah, the rematch is probably already sold out.
Probably. I mean, and Conor McGregor's already thrown a tweet out there indicating that he wants a rematch, and so when that much money is at stake, it would be surprising if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But on the other side, Joe Rogan did say he thought it may be a black eye. That kind of an incident is a black eye on the sport, and I think Joe Rogan's obviously been around the UFC forever.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about.
But hang on. That's the issue. The issue is that Joe Rogan approaches it from the point of view of someone who's seen a lot of UFC.
Yeah.
And understands the nuances of it and understands the sport. Hang on a sec. Yeah. And Joe Rogan knows just UFC. Like, has seen it from a UFC point of view, which is that this is not our sport. So from the point of view of the 30 million people who tuned in for the first time to watch a UFC fight, that is exactly what they thought that was going to be.
Exactly.
Which is lawlessness and everyone smacking each other around.
Yeah.
That is the public perception of UFC. Most people watching that were just like, well, yeah, isn't that the point?
Yeah.
But yeah, like the uneducated fan. Yeah,
I read a really good article on this on the weekend, which said that a guy who's covered UFC for years watched that fight in the company of a whole bunch of people for whom it was their first ever fight.
Right.
They watched the whole card. Everyone that guy watched with was far more concerned and far more horrified when there was an earlier fight on the card when there was blood leaking out of a guy's head.
Fight.
Yeah. Completely which is completely in keeping with the rules, and that's what happens, right? Everybody was absolutely mortified, worried for the guy, hated it, didn't want to watch anymore.
Right.
But at the end, when there's all that sort of WWE style, punching, kicking, everybody sleeping in the ring, nobody even blinked.
No.
Because that's what they expected.
Because part of the lead up to this was Conor McGregor throwing, would he throw a bench through a bus window?
Through one of those trolleys that you use to lift stuff
injuring
around.
a couple people and possibly injuring Khabib's girlfriend, who has nothing to do with any of this.
Right.
Not only that,
animal
has quite, obviously the whole lead up to any fight is exchanging personal insults, but the level to which Conor McGregor did that, using some this goes...
Pretty low blows.
Pretty low blows.
Pretty personal stuff,
and pretty personal stuff. Like, which, sure, like, I think people are attuned to sort of be like, it's just pre-fight chat. I imagine it probably didn't feel like that.
No.
Right.
I mean, watching most of it is just like, is watching it's like watching guys who go to bars to get into fights.
Right.
Like, you can just watch them and go, this guy's acting like a complete ass.
Right.
And he's just asking for a fight, and someone's going to fight him. And there are guys who do this sport who do that because they don't get into the discipline of it.
Right.
And like Conor McGregor seems like one of those guys. He's obviously very disciplined. He's a very good fighter, but outside the ring, he holds himself up to be just a snap show. And like is intent on injuring anybody who's in his way, which is just, I don't know, just gross.
Well, and the thing is, well, though, with the scenario you just described, Ollie, with people who had just watched it for the first time, most of those people probably wouldn't have seen or even heard of any of the lead up, any of the trash talk, so that's kind of neither here nor there. Yeah, that kind of thing. For a UFC fan, it's like either you think it's great, you think it's entertaining, or you think it's disgusting. Either way, if the UFC doesn't step in and do anything about it, it does just promote the fight.
Yeah.
So it does work in the nature of the sport's favor. Unfortunately, as ridiculous as it may come off that way. But the reason that I point out that free for all after, as opposed to seeing blood, which is, I mean, relatively commonplace in the UFC. They don't stop unless someone's just like streaming like rivers of blood. That was a little graphic.
It was.
But but the reason I point out, and I think, like I said, Joe Rogan saying that that's a black eye on the sport, I think it does hold some resonance, because that is something that the UFC and mixed martial arts could always kind of hang its hat on at the end of the day, was that, yes, we're going to have people that think this is human cockfighting, that it's just a free-for-all, there's no discipline, it's just idiots, fighting each other. At least the UFC could hang its hat and say, look at this, these two guys have hammered on each other for 5 rounds, and they're standing beside each other at the end of the fight by the ref, declaring one of them the victor. And it's like, there's that respect and that discipline that is just, it's inherent in it. And the UFC, up to this point, has been able to kind of hang its hat on. It's like, all right, differences have been settled. The fight is over. Yeah. Here's the winner.
Yeah.
And they lost that opportunity.
Because that's a huge part of martial arts. A huge part of martial arts is discipline and respect.
Yeah.
And honor and all these things.
Yeah.
And like, it's like Dana White has said that he does not take any of the blame. He's absolutely complicit in creating a star like Conor McGregor.
For sure.
And also, but I mean, the fans love him. So that says something about the fans too, is that they don't care about honor and respect and discipline. They just care about blood and gore and people freaking out.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Cabin Sports Radio, Mondays, 6 p.m.
There you go. A small preview.
The Mornings at the Cabin podcast, where we delete all the bad bits and make them sound at least semi-coherent.
The UN released another report on climate change. This has got to be the umpteenth one, probably, and but basically saying, "Act now, idiots." It basically says something like that, saying we have about 12 years in order to try to mitigate what's going to happen with severe climate change, to contain a warming of 1.5 degrees centigrade, which doesn't sound like much. Heck, I'd like it if it was 1.5 degrees warmer right now.
Heck.
I tell you that much right now. Hold your horses.
So does that mean we have to start now, or we start in 12 years?
Start in 12 years, I think, really. I mean, we got 12 years to figure it out.
Yeah.
And 12 years if we
12 years to make a plan.
Yeah. We got 12
there.
years to make a plan, and on October 9th, 2030, we put that plan into action.
And the fun is over.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, it's like when you plan on going on a diet, and you're just like, I can start next week. So this week,
gonna take it easy.
No. This week is pizza and beer and McDonald's. And then next week, we're going to start next week.
Yeah.
And we're just going to blow it out.
That's right.
That's absolutely right. So, the emissions need to fall by 45% by 2030, they're saying. CO2 emissions.
45%.
And as we know, the carbon tax is just a big cash grab for big something in order to pay for something else.
Right.
Whatever.
Problem you have, though, is that even if Canada embraced the carbon tax warmly and said, yeah, we'll do our part. Let's all have a carbon tax.
Yeah, the problem with that being we have an election every few years.
Well, the problem with that being there's like 35 million people here. It's like a squillionth of a percentage of the population of the world. Squillionth? And doesn't really, like much as my personal view is, yeah, absolutely, let's do things like that. It's not going to make an ounce of difference if China doesn't.
Right.
Russia doesn't.
Yeah.
The States doesn't. Like if they all continue to work the way they've been working, then what's the point? Yeah, it's a fairly valid argument.
That does seem to be an obstacle.
Much as I hate to admit it, is that if all of Canada were to give up, for example, trucks. I mean, let's not even go that far. Let's just give up remote start. Jesus, that would probably take care of the whole, Canada's whole contribution. Let's just get rid of that tomorrow.
No.
And then, well, this is exactly the problem, right? Is that even that, which is a tiny, tiny concession to make.
Yes.
Let's say we banned remote start tomorrow. There would be people on the streets, which would be ironic considering. And that would be, it would be hard yards to get that through. All right, and something as simple as that. Just you can't start your car from the comfort of your own home, you idiots.
Well, we can't even get people to recycle properly in this town. Did you see the? I mean, you saw the story about the what was the dump truck failed and dumped a bunch of garbage on the street. Yeah, and it was half cardboard.
Yeah,
it was half cardboard. Yeah. We can't even get people to separate cardboard from garbage. Here, I don't understand. I don't understand.
If it counts for anything, that was the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the picture. There's an awful lot of cardboard in that garbage. In there. I don't know about that.
Pretty irresponsible.
And so, if these are the issues that we're having, forget it, because you're not going to get the rest of the world. Yeah, Canada's at a pretty advanced level when it comes to what it's trying to achieve, and most Canadians, I think, would probably concede that Canada's not really doing that much.
Yeah,
and therefore, what's the point? And hence, that's exactly what the Donald Trump administration has concluded, which is in a paper a few weeks ago, an internal paper that was made public. The Trump administration, or at least scientists working within that administration, said, "Well, look, by some estimates, the world's average temperature could increase as much as 4 degrees by the end of this century."
Yeah.
All right, let's just go with it. And we'll just figure it out. Which, of course, is not necessarily a valid argument either. Really. But the problem is, really, we have proved so many times now that we don't have the inclination.
No, we're better at adapting our behavior than changing our harmful behavior.
Yeah, which is a nice way of putting it. The less nice way of putting it is we couldn't care less. We'd much rather just have, we'd rather have our cake and eat it now and screw the rest of the planet in the future.
Most of us can't see past our own nose, so why would we care about our neighborhood or our city or our country or anything?
And then next summer when the sweeping heat waves come, what is going on here?
What is going on?
This weather is insane.
Oh my God, the tourism we're going to get out of climate change is going to be fantastic. If we're going to hang our hat on tourism, we better hope for that 1.5 degree increase in heat.
Shame they won't be able to get anywhere because the permafrost will have melted underneath the roads and the runways.
Yeah, absolutely. And all those old diseases and bacteria will be released. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Would you guys say it's time to panic?
Yes, I would, Scott.
Mornings at the cabin. Highlight reel.
Mornings at the cabin. Wheeler and Lekter. Ollie is away. But we wanted to talk a little bit about you and I. I don't know if Ollie's watched this yet. I'm not even sure if he's watched the first season, but Big Mouth Season 2 dropped on Netflix on October 5th, and I watched the entire thing this weekend.
Yeah, me too.
You did too?
Yeah.
All yesterday.
Binged it in one day.
Well done.
Yeah.
Felt
good about myself.
So good.
I haven't done that before.
Really? The whole day? You've not done a whole season?
Haven't binged a whole season in one day before. Yeah. Felt like
well done.
Achievement unlocked.
Yeah, achievement unlocked indeed.
In laziness.
Yeah, beautiful.
And sloth.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, it was great.
I watched it mostly on Saturday and Sunday. Actually, all of it on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And then yesterday just hung out and ate leftovers.
Right. Watched it again.
Couple turkey sandwiches and a full turkey dinner one time.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
So good. No, actually, we played Super Mario Party yesterday.
Oh.
The new Super Mario Party on Switch.
Wow.
That's right.
You guys had a big weekend.
Oh, huge.
Dog ran away.
Super Mario Party, Big Mouth Season 2. How'd you think the Season 2 stood up to the first one?
I thought it pretty much hit the ground running.
Absolutely.
Picked up right where it left off. I thought it was hilarious.
It was absolutely hilarious. And Doesn't have the shock value, obviously, of the first season, because the first season was something very, very new.
Right.
Doing like real sex positive stuff, mental health positive stuff, while being completely gross.
Yeah.
Which was awesome because it ties into the whole story of them being adolescents or entering adolescence very, very well. Because as we all know, because you and I were once preteens going into teenagers, they're disgusting.
Yeah.
And they stink and they have horrible thoughts. And as a person who taught some students who were in that age range, they're terrible. They're terrible. And they have a lot of just weird ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who could blame them?
Who could blame them? They have no idea what's going on. All of a sudden, the hormone monster's on their shoulder going, that sounds like a good thing to do. And then they're just going nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very little is actually a good idea. That seems like a good idea
Yes.
at age 12, 13, 14, wherever they're supposed to be.
Absolutely. I was a bit of a late bloomer. I think I was like the end of 13.
Right.
End of 14 was when I was starting to blossom as a young man.
I'm still waiting for that armpit hair.
Oh,
to come
yeah,
in,
buddy.
personally.
I know you're waiting. It's fine. You're doing great.
I'll get there.
You're doing great.
Yeah, just go at my own pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No one. You know what? It's not a race.
That's right.
Right. We're all gonna
right.
we're all gonna reach the finish line eventually.
Yeah.
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 No, it'll happen for you, bud.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
I'm optimistic.
Good. And that's the way it should be. But it was a fantastic season. Another season of like pushing the envelope, but not like, I mean, it pushes the envelope in how it's kind of gross.
Right.
Because it's like what's the word? It's just like it's showing everything that they're thinking of without unabashed, I guess you'd say.
Right.
But at the same time, not really pushing the envelope at all, because it's just like standard sexual health stuff for the most part. It's like stuff that you should be learning.
Right.
In school, like the Planned Parenthood episode, in which they use ridiculous means of like getting the point across of Planned Parenthood and why it's important and what it does.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic episode. I think it's episode 6. If you only watched that episode of the show, it would still be good. That episode of the show, while completely inappropriate for younger viewers, should be watched by younger viewers.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting show because, there's obviously, like we said, there's that shock value because it is completely offside. It is completely vile and disgusting.
But so is adolescence.
And that's part of the beauty of the show is it's taking this topic, basically puberty, which we, like when we were growing up, when we were that age, we tried to like, in school tried to like pretty it up and be like,
make
this
it
is
magical,
natural, this is beautiful. Yeah. And in a way it is, but it's also really confusing and disgusting. Yeah. and so it's just like a more unabashed look at puberty and all the things. Yeah, an honest look rather than a glossed educational look.
Like Fuzzy Bunny noticed there was hair where there was no hair before.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's an X-rated Fuzzy Bunny.
Yes, very good. She was faking it. But, fantastic show. And I mean, honestly, like episodes like that, I think you could watch maybe with some slight editing with some younger viewers just to be like, hey, like, Planned Parenthood is a good thing.
Right.
Going through puberty's like, you're not alone in this. Everybody feels this disgusting and this warped and this maybe this kind of like just kind of gross-minded.
Yeah.
So, I think for that, it's very, very healthy.
Yeah.
And maybe we're looking back on puberty without those rose-colored glasses because, this is gross.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Super.
The thing I liked about the second season was I thought it took a nice step in including the non-direct main characters, the kind of secondary characters, and including them in the whole puberty conversation, rather than it just being like, these are the characters who are going through this, everyone else is just kind of like a bit part. Yeah. It kind of took away like the caricature nature away from some of the other characters.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. So I thought that was really good. That was a good step forward.
Solid season 2, and now we only have to wait another year. This is the problem with binge watching. It's done, and now we have to wait a year for another one.
Oh God, they take a whole year?
Yeah.
Oh.
The last one came out last September, and now this one's October. So
what do people like about binge watching again? I've got nothing to do now.
Instant gratification.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of puberty,
you're listening to the best of Mornings at the Cabin. Yeah, it's a short show.
So go on and tell me about this house issue you've got.
What house issue? What's going on?
You know the house issue.
I do. What more? Oh, by the way, Mornings at the Cabin. Welcome back to the show. What house issue? What's going on?
So, remember Friday? You may only remember it dimly, but remember
whatever.
Friday?
Oh, jeez.
Do we need to get into it?
You're the one who brought it up this morning.
I did bring it up this morning, but then
now,
I
there
said
are still 3 people left in Yellowknife who haven't heard you talk about this. So.
All right. You know what? I was having an evening. I was having an emotional evening. I was coming from quite an aggressive little get together with people from work, and but I mean there was something else that was bothering me, but we don't need to get into that. But I got to this house that we were at on Friday night, and I had a very visceral reaction to it. Everybody was telling me about how amazing this house was, and I looked around and I was like, yeah, this house has an amazing layout. But for the rest of the night, I couldn't help but just be angry about it. I don't know why. I just was. I just did. It represented, and I include my house that I grew up in, though my house is a bit more humble, in the mid to late 80s. In the early 90s in Yellowknife, actually the mid to late 80s mostly, where it was just like, oh, these gold mines will never close. Let's build like the most garish houses we can conceive of. And that's what we did. And the one that we were in kind of screamed in that mid to late 80s fashion, where it's just like, hey, we can have houses up here just like they do in, say, West Vancouver or in the suburbs of Toronto and whatever, without actually asking why should we or should we not have these houses. We just kind of did it. And it's a house that has not been updated since the mid 80s. The carpet's still the same. The speaker system's still the same. Still a lot of things in that house that are completely falling apart from what I've heard from the person that's living there. There are parts of that house that had insulation that was less than an inch thick. It's a house that was built probably over 30 years ago, most likely over 30 years ago, that hasn't been updated. That's not a bad thing. It's just at that moment in that time, I got into that house and I was like, I don't like it here. This represents something of peak Yellowknife that I don't really like.
I've never seen anyone have that visceral reaction to a house.
Yeah.
Let's cross to Scott for a description of the house. Because so far people understand that the house angers you, but we haven't heard a lot about like the house itself. What describe the house to people?
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful house. Yeah. No issues with that house whatsoever.
It's a beautiful house? Okay, great.
Yeah.
The Queen ate at the house once.
Yeah.
There's a photo on the wall showing the Queen in the house in the 80s, I'm going to hazard a guess.
Yeah, always 80s, for sure.
Yeah, she shows, so there's that photo there. And then there's like a little den, there's an office space, there's a hot tub out the back, there's this sort of massive upstairs lounge area that just sprawls on forever with these massive 80 speakers that Jesse was mentioning. And yeah, the reaction of most people was like, oh, look at the size of this amazing house. And then
because that's how people react to opulence. That's how people react to some big space like that. They're like, oh my goodness, it's so amazing, without actually thinking about it.
That's how people be pleasant.
That's how people be pleasant. I don't know how to do that. I be wear heart on me sleeve. But this is no disrespect to the people who made the house, who bought the house, who designed the house, who built the house. No disrespect to them whatsoever. It just represents a time in Yellowknife where everybody was trying to build the biggest house possible, and they're still trying to do it. And I mean, and it represents something that I didn't like about this town at the time. And that's all. I mean, I've lived here. I've lived here since I was a baby, and I've seen some things go down in this town that are not great. And that's one of them, where we were just trying our best to be the South and be as opulent as the South was, and it was just kind of.
And my favorite part of this whole conversation with you that evening was that you were unusually snuggly throughout it.
I was,
and
you were a bit snuggly,
and in the same way that sometimes you'll see a zookeeper with like quite a young tiger, but clearly the tiger could if it wanted to. That's kind of how I started. I was sort of like,
I know.
This
and then
tiger...
you left immediately.
Well,
you left this baby tiger to fend for itself.
I mean, I had already been there for 4 hours. So,
I know, that's very true.
He also did look very scared.
4 hours? I got there at 10. You got there at 6?
Oh, 3 hours, 4. You got there after 10.
I did.
But I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is the snuggliest anti-house conversation I imagine I will ever have.
Probably. And I mean, I can't really explain it. I guess it was just a reaction I had. Maybe somebody could tell me like why the houses were so big for whatever reason. It's a gaudy house. It's gaudy.
You're just allergic to opulence, and conveniently you work at Cabin Radio.
Yeah,
so you're safe.
There it is. But who am I to say anything? Not even a homeowner.
Thanks for listening. Check out more from the show at cabinradio.ca.